Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. Today's case is on the case of JonBenet Ramsey. This has been unsolved for 25 years. It happened in 1996. I was born 85, so I was about 11 when it happened. They're still waiting to see if DNA will eventually tell who the killer is. So, as always, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let's get into the video. Ramsey was born August 6, 1990 in Atlanta, Georgia. Her parents were John and Patsy Ramsey. John and Patsy were married in 1980. JonBenet's older sibling, Burke, was born in 1987. They lived there in Atlanta until 1991 when John's work moved him to Boulder, Colorado in 1991. Starting from when her daughter was young, Patsy entered her in children's beauty contests, and she won some titles before the age of 6. And then this is when it happened. The morning that changed everything. Patsy called 911 at 5:52 a.m. to report her daughter missing. Cops arrived 3 minutes later. Cops conducted a search of the home but didn't find any sign of forced entry. A lengthy ransom note claimed that she had been kidnapped, demanding $118,000 for her return. And Patsy reported finding this note at the foot of the stairs. The note read, "Mr. Ramsey, listen carefully. We are a group of individuals that represent a small foreign faction. We do not respect your business, but not the country that it serves. At this time, we have your daughter in our possession. She is safe and unharmed, and if you want to see her, 1997, you must follow our instructions to the letter. You will withdraw $118,000 from your account. $100,000 will be in $100 bills, and the remaining $18,000 in $20 bills. Make sure that you bring an adequate size attach to the bank. When you get home, you will put the money in a brown paper bag, and I will call you between 8 and 10 a.m. tomorrow to instruct you on delivery. The delivery will be exhausting, so I advise you to be rested. If we monitor you getting the money early, we might call you early to arrange for an earlier delivery of the money and hence an earlier pickup of your daughter. Any deviation from my instructions will result in immediate execution of your daughter. You will also be denied her remains for proper burial. The 2 gentlemen watching over your daughter do particularly like you, so I advise you not to provoke them. Speaking to anyone about the situation, such as police, FBI, etc., will result in your daughter being beheaded. If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies. If you alert bank authorities, she dies. If the money is in any way marked or tampered with, she dies. You will be scanned for electronic devices, and if we find any, she dies. You can try to deceive us, but be warned that we are familiar with law enforcement countermeasures and tactics. You stand 99% chance of killing your daughter if you try to outsmart us. Follow our instructions and you stand 100% chance of getting her back. You and your family are under constant scrutiny as well as authorities. Don't try to grow a brain, John. You are not the only fat cat around, so don't think that killing will be difficult. Don't underestimate us, John. Use that good southern common sense of yours. It is up to you now, John. Victory, and it's signed SBTC. So when the police arrived, a forensics team was dispatched to the house, and the team initially believed that the child had only been kidnapped like the note said, and JonBenet's bedroom was the only room in the house that was quartered off to prevent contamination of the evidence. No precautions were taken to prevent contamination of evidence in the rest of the house. John agreed to pay the ransom, but there was never an attempt of anybody to claim the money. At 1 p.m., Detective Art asked John Ramsey and Fleet White, a family friend, to search the house to see if anything seemed amiss. They started their search in the basement, and John opened the latch door, which Officer French, he had later went by this door to the basement, and the door was unlocked. There was no forced entry, so he bypassed it totally. And it said John opened the latch door, which Officer French had overlooked, and found his daughter's body in one of the rooms. JonBenet's mouth was covered with duct tape. A neon cord was found around her wrist and neck, and her torso was covered with a white blanket. John picked up his child's body and took it upstairs. When JonBenet was moved, the crime scene was further contaminated, and crucial forensic evidence was disturbed for the remaining forensics team. Each of the Ramseys provided handwriting, blood, and their hair samples to the police. John and Patsy participated in a preliminary interview for more than 2 hours, and Burke was also interviewed within the first couple of weeks following JonBenet's death. 7 hours after Patsy contacted authorities, JonBenet's body was found in an isolated area in the Ramsey's basement. She had been killed by strangulation and a blow to the head. After the homicide of JonBenet was discovered, Boulder law enforcement officials declared that Patsy and her husband was under an umbrella of suspicion because of their possible involvement in the crime. The couple spent the next 10 years defending themselves against the allegations by insisting that an intruder killed their daughter. The autopsy revealed that JonBenet had been killed by strangulation and a skull fracture. The official cause of death was asphyxia by strangulation associated with a cranial-cerebral trauma. There was no evidence of conventional rape, although sexual assault could not be ruled out. Although no semen was found, there was evidence that there had been a vaginal injury. At the time of the autopsy, the pathologist recorded that it appeared her vagina area had been wiped with a cloth, and her death was ruled a homicide. A garrote that was made from a length of nylon cord and the broken handle of a paintbrush was tied around JonBenet's neck and had apparently been used to strangle her. Part of the bristle end of the paintbrush was found in the tub containing Patsy's art supplies, but the bottom third of it was never found, despite extensive searching of the house by the police in subsequent days. The autopsy also revealed that vegetable or fruit material, which may represent pineapple, which JonBenet had eaten hours before her death. Photographs of the home taken on the day of when JonBenet's body was found show a bowl of pineapple on the kitchen table with a spoon in it. However, neither John nor Patsy said that they remember putting the bowl on the table or feeding pineapple to JonBenet. Police reported that they found JonBenet's 9-year-old brother, Burke Ramsey's fingerprints on the bowl. The Ramseys have always said that Burke slept through the night until he was awakened several hours later when the police arrived. Boulder police initially focused almost exclusively upon John and Patsy, but by October 1997 had over 1,600 people in their index of persons of interest for the case. Errors that were made in the initial investigation complicated the resolution of the investigation with applicable theory. Those errors included loss and contamination of evidence, lack of experience and technical staff on the investigation, evidence shared with the Ramseys, and delayed informal interviews with the parents. Lou Schmidt was a detective who came out of retirement in early 1997 to assist the Boulder County DA's office with the case. In May 1998, he presented his findings to the Boulder Police and other staff members of the DA's office, concluding that the evidence pointed away from the Ramseys. They were unable to successfully challenge the police department's belief that the Ramseys were guilty. The DA's office sought to take control of the investigation due to the animosity between the police and the DA's office. The pressure to obtain a conviction. He was governor at the time. Colorado Governor Roy Rumor interceded and named Michael Caine as special prosecutor to initiate a grand jury. Two of the lead investigators in the case had opposing views. Both Lou Schmidt and Steve Thomas ultimately resigned. Schmidt because he believed that the investigation had and failed to support the police investigation of the case. A grand jury was convened beginning September 15, 1998, to consider indicting the Ramseys for charges relating to the case. A grand jury voted in 1999 to indict the parents of a 6-year-old JonBenet Ramsey on charges of child abuse resulting in death, but Boulder District Attorney Alex Hunter did not sign the indictment. Multiple sources, including members of the grand jury, Hunter refused to sign the indictment because he did not think there was sufficient evidence to prove the case beyond a reasonable doubt. At around the same time, Lou Schmidt a homicide detective who had been brought in to solve the case, said that the Ramseys had been unfairly targeted, and that the intruder was likely responsible for the murder and its staging. In December 2003, forensic investigators extracted enough material from a mixed blood sample found on JonBenet's underwear to establish a DNA profile. That DNA belonged to an unknown male person and excluded the DNA of each of the Ramseys. The DNA was submitted to the FBI's CODIS, a database containing more than 1.6 million DNA profiles, but the sample did not match any profile in that database. A. James Kohler, who was the lead investigator for the DA's office, said that there were individual traces of male DNA found on the cord and the paintbrush that the Boulder District Attorney Mary Lacey did not mention, and that there were 6 separate DNA samples belonging to an unknown individuals that were found by the test. Former FBI profiler Candace DeLong believes that the DNA, having showed up identically in several different pieces on multiple surfaces, belongs to the killer. Former Adams County, Colorado District Attorney Bob Grant, who has assisted the Boulder DA's office on the case for many years, also believes that DNA evidence is significant, saying that any resolution of the case would have to explain how the DNA showed up on several pieces of JonBenet's clothing. Forensic on July 9, 2008, nearly 12 years after their daughter's death and 2 years after Patsy's death, the Boulder District Attorney cleared John Ramsey and his late wife of any wrongdoing in their daughter's death. The decision was based on new DNA evidence that was collected from JonBenet's clothing, which belonged to an unidentified male, not part of the family. The particular type of DNA analysis did not exist at the time of the killing. Boulder County District Attorney Mary Lacey said new DNA tests point to an unexplained third party as this particular type of DNA analysis did not exist at the time of killing. Boulder County District Attorney Mary Lacey said new DNA tests point to an unexplained third party as possibly responsible for the killing. Modern touch DNA suggests that a male of Hispanic origin, per updates on DNA and DNA found under JonBenet's fingernails 2 weeks after the murder, which Hunter had access to, left traces on 2 separate clothing articles: the undergarment, panties, and leggings. The official exoneration was done against normal practice, and the Boulder police have still not cleared them. Mark Beckner, retired Boulder Chief of Police, has claimed that Mary Lacey had always strongly believed that a mother could not possibly be responsible for the death of her daughter in that fashion, and so she sought to exonerate Ramsey, and that the trace DNA found on JonBenet's underwear believed by the Colorado Bureau of Investigation to be either sweat or saliva was in such minute qualities. What? Minute qualities. Nanograms. That it could have come from the clothing's manufacturing process. There are two theories about the death of JonBenet. One is the family member theory. Boulder police initially concentrated almost extensively upon the parents, John and Patsy Ramsey. And according to a retired profiler for the FBI, it's a 12-to-1 probability that it's a family member or a caregiver who is involved in the homicide of a child. The police saw no evidence of forced entry, but they did see evidence of staging of the scene, such as the ransom note. They did not find the Ramseys cooperative in helping them solve the death of their daughter. The Ramseys had said that their reluctance was due to their fear that there would not be a full investigation for intruders, and that they would be hastily selected as key suspects in the case. The second theory is the intruder theory. The police and the prosecutors followed leads for intruders, partly due to the unidentified bookmark left in the basement room where JonBenet's body was found. Early persons of interest, which included the neighbor Bill McReynolds, who played Santa Claus, Chris Wolf, a local reporter whose then girlfriend reported him as a suspect, a family housekeeper, Linda Hoffman Pugh, and a man named Michael Hogoff, who died of apparent suicide shortly after JonBenet's death. Hundreds of DNA tests were performed to find a match of DNA recovered during her autopsy. In a 2003 defamation lawsuit related to the case, Wolf versus Ramsey, involving the Ramseys publicly identifying an early suspect in the case, Judge Julie E. Carnes wrote, There is virtually no evidence to support Wolf's theory that the Ramseys murdered their child, but abundant evidence to support the Ramseys' belief that an intruder entered their home at some point during the night of December 25, 1996 and killed their daughter. One theory is that Patsy struck JonBenet in a fit of rage after a bedwetting episode and strangled her to cover up what had happened, after mistakenly thinking that she was already dead. However, Patsy did not have any known history of uncontrolled anger. In October 2010, the Boulder police reopened the cold case, and new interviews were conducted, following a fresh inquiry by a committee that included state and federal investigators. Police were expected to use the latest DNA technology in their investigation. There was no new information gleaned from those interviews. It is reported in September 2016 that an investigation into JonBenet's death continues to be active homicide case. In October 2016, new forensic analysis with more refined technique revealed that the original DNA deposits contained genetic markers from two persons other than the victim herself. They have never been identified, though, through any government databases. We do have one person that confessed to the crime but didn't do the crime. John Mark Carr. Was arrested in Bangkok, Thailand on August 15, 2006, following a false confession of murdering JonBenet. He was a 41-year-old school teacher, claimed that he drugged, sexually assaulted, and accidentally killed JonBenet. According to CNN, authorities also said that they didn't find any evidence linking Carr to the crime. In the confession, Carr had provided only basic facts that were publicly known and failed to provide any additional convincing details. The claim that JonBenet was drugged further cast doubt on the confession because the autopsy indicated no drugs were found in her body. Furthermore, Carr's DNA did not match the DNA found on JonBenet's body. And as of right now, they're still waiting on the DNA technology. Her daddy JonBenet says that he wants all this to be opened up. He wants the DNA to be found. And who did it eventually after 25 years. We'll see if it gets done. I hope it does get done. Until then, y'all be safe. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and help me get to 1,000 subscribers. Y'all have a good day. Bye.